Yes.
Okay, let me start. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sudeshna, Chair for Women in Engineering Kolkata section. On behalf of IEEE Kolkata section and Women in Engineering Kolkata section, I welcome all of you to the second episode of Dare to Dream, a talk series on Indian women in STEM careers more than 50 years back. Today, in the second episode, our talk is on Dr. Vibha Chaudhary, and we are privileged to have Dr. Shrutika C. Roy with us, who will talk on the life and work of Dr. Vibha Chaudhary. I'm honored to welcome Mr. Deepak Mathur, Director IEEE Region 10. Ma'am, if you can move to the next slide.
I'm not able to move. That's the problem.
Okay, no issues. I'll just introduce sir, and then maybe we can use sir's
Yeah, let me stop this,
slides.
please.
Yes, let me introduce sir first, then we can switch over to sir's presentation. So, Mr. Deepak Mathur, he is the director of IEEE Region 10 Asia Pacific region. He has served many leadership roles in IEEE at section, council, region, and MGA, and was also a member of board of governors of IEEE Society on Social Implications of Technology. Deepak served as chair of IEEE India Council in 2015 to 2016. He has more than 37 years of professional experience in the fields of electronics, telecommunication, IT, and has held various engineering and managerial positions. Deepak is a member of International Honor Society of the IEEE, and he is also a recipient of numerous awards, among them the prestigious IEEE Region 10 Outstanding Volunteer Award and IEEE MGA Achievement Award. Sir, welcome and over to you.
So, thank you very much, Sudeshna ji and Atanu, for your hard work in bringing this slide. And I would like to thank Kolkata section and WI Kolkata section for your kind invitation to me. And I really feel privileged and honored. Are you getting my voice, Atanu?
Yes,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. So, Sushmita ji, thank you very much for this opportunity to me and to share my thoughts on this occasion. In fact, if you remember your remarks which you made on this event, when you shared this information about the event on our India Council group, and in one of your response, you remarked that actually it is because they dared is why we are here.
Yes, yes.
You very rightly said that, madam. And we all need role models, and especially those who can break so-called barriers, those who sees opportunities in our challenges. So thank you very much, madam, for that. You're reminding us that we all need role model. And thank you, Kolkata section and its WI for this initiative. And it is a great idea of sharing life and works of great women leaders in STEM, and it becomes more impactful if it is told by a great personality. So, Dr. Surya Prakash Roy, thank you very much for taking this responsibility of sharing the great works of this great women leader in STEM. Next slide, madam. So my presentation will be in 3 parts. In fact, I would be just sharing something about impact of WI, and then I will be talking about IEEE and its benefits, and then I'll share about Region 10, its histories, and what are the thrust areas, and what are the Region 10 priorities. Next slide, madam. So another good aspect of today's event, talk series Dare to Dream, is great way to recognize our great leaders and their contributions and how they faced various challenges and achieved something very significant. At the same time, we inspire and motivate the coming generations. So I'm sure Dr. Vibha Chaudhary's life and work will inspire many of us. I think someone has to mute the mic. I'm getting a lot of feedback. So WI has contributed a lot it has motivated, inspired, and trained many of our IEEE members. And if you see that the strength of WI today is really very remarkable. And we organized one conference, 10 summits, and so many programs by WIE. And these kind of programs have given great opportunities of development for our women leaders. Next slide. So we have some concerns, but we still have lots of concern in our society for education of women. Let us brainstorm how we could address such concerns through our WI programs. That should be our goal, and we have to be innovative and creative in designing our program, as we have done for this program. And I understand that virtual world brings many challenges, but there are many opportunities too, and we can organize many programs, and we can design many innovative programs. So I would like to share some facts that some research have shown that nearly 40% of women who earn engineering degrees quit the profession or never enter into the profession. And studies have also revealed that today around 20% of women are in engineering, but only 11% opt for practicing engineer. The other very surprising data about women engineers is that 1 in 4 female engineers leave the field or leave the profession after the age of 30. So we really need effective mentorship programs to inspire and engage women engineers, starting from their education and throughout the career. If we develop more women leaders, I believe they will address women-related issues with more rigor and more passion. Madam, next slide. So this is something I wanted to share with you, that the changing scenario in IEEE and maybe across the world, you can see that IEEE board, we have got a lot of women leaders today. Our president, secretary, and treasurer, and vice president of MGA, all are women. And there are other board of directors in IEEE board. Region 10, we have got good number of women volunteers, and they are all very talented, very dedicated and passionate volunteers. Our India Council also is having good number of women leaders, but we have to work more, and we have to bring more women to leadership role. Next slide. So what I see that one of the most unique part of women leader is that they are very empathetic, and that makes them a unique leader. And we need more women in STEM, and we have to provide a lot of encouragement, and we have to support women to bring them into the engineering and STEM discipline. Next slide. So now I'll be just talking about IEEE, and I have been made to understand that there are many non-IEEE participants also. And this is IEEE is world's largest technical and professional organization, and our mission is to foster technological innovation and excellence for the benefit of humanity. We have got our mission, we have got our core values, and this is our 2025 strategic plan. And we would like to say that IEEE will be a trusted source of educational services and resources to support lifelong learning. And IEEE will provide opportunities to career and professional development. So next slide, madam. So these I'll be also sharing some of the benefits of IEEE. Madam, next slide. So these are some benefits. These are some benefits from IEEE, and you can choose IEEE benefit as per your requirement for your advantage in your career and your profession. I will be quickly going through these slides. Madam, next slide. Next slide, madam. So next slide. So why members join IEEE? It was surveyed, and it was surveyed quite frequently, almost with good frequency. We survey this, and the top 2 reasons to join IEEE has always been to remain technically current and to access IEEE publications which are of good quality and high standard. Next slide, madam. So if you want to know more about IEEE, please go and visit IEEE.org, and you will get more details on technical societies and technical councils in IEEE. And then if you want to know about the IEEE standards, you have to visit IEEE.org. There are a lot of publications and conferences run by IEEE. You can get details on IEEE educational activities. IEEE is also in public policy. If you want to know the details about IEEE's Honor Society, Itakappannu, please visit IEEE.org. And one of the very important things which I would like to share with non-members, that IEEE is also offering variety of resources for on COVID-19. So if you are a member of IEEE, you can make use of those resources for your career, for your profession, for your research work. And presently, IEEE is giving heavy discount on student membership, and you can avail this opportunity to join IEEE. Next slide, madam. So now I'll be talking about something about IEEE Region 10. You can go ahead, madam. So what we see today, Region 10, as Asia Pacific region, it was made in 1981. In fact, Region 10 was established in 1967, but in 1967, Southern Africa was also part of Region 10, but in 1981, it was taken from Region 10 and it was transferred to Region 8. So the Asia Pacific region was established in 1981. Next slide. So our region is very big. As far as the area is concerned, in the north, you can see the Mongolia subsection. If you see the west, we have got Afghanistan subsection, and east we have Japan, we have Fiji, and then the south, Australia and New Zealand. So we have got 6 councils: Korea Council, Japan Council, New Zealand Council, and Australia Council, India Council, and China Council. In India Council, we have got 12 sections. Kolkata section comes under India Council, and Kolkata section is one of the very prominent section of India and Region 10. Next slide, madam. So we have total 59 sections in Region 10 and 40 subsections, and we have got 49 WI affinity groups in Region 10, but we are still trying to make one affinity group in each section of Region 10. Our WI team is working very diligently and very strategically to form WI in each and every section of Region 10. Next slide. So we are largest, fast-growing and diverse region. You see that we have got lot many subsections in Region 10, and I would like to share with you that Kolkata section has really very recently recommended 2 subsections in Kolkata section, Silchar subsection and Guwahati subsection, and I'm sure that these will be approved very soon as subsection of Kolkata section. Next slide. So this is our Region 10 ExCom, and our Region 10 ExCom is very diverse. It is diversified by age, diversified by countries, and diversified by gender. And we are very lucky to have our past president Toshio Fukuda and past VP MGA Pukjin Chun in our ExCom. And when I talk about diversity, it is not only diversity of age or gender or countries. With diversity, we bring diversity of thoughts, diversity of ideas, and diversity of expertise. And I would like to share with you that our Region 10 ExCom is very talented, very dedicated, and very passionate for IEEE. Next slide, please. So this is our new initiative in Region 10. We wanted that our volunteers who have served at section level, who have served at country level, they should also get opportunity to take part in Region 10 activities. And we have formed this time subcommittees in Region 10, and almost around 120 volunteers we have given various roles in subcommittees, and they are doing their job very enthusiastically, and that way we have engaged more volunteers in Region 10 committees, and this is one of the great initiative of our Region 10, and these volunteers are the future leaders of IEEE. Next slide. So Region 10 is having two meetings. One is annual general meeting, which we had very recently, and which was participated by all section chairs or their representative. And another meeting which we have as Region 10 ExCom. And this year we had both the meetings in virtual mode. Next slide. So Region 10 has got 4 flagship events. There are three conferences which are held annually, and one SYWL Congress, that is Student Young Professional WI and Life Member Congress. And we have planned our activities in such a way that we get chance to have in-person event this year. Our 10th will be in August, and we are hopeful that that will be in person, or at the most that will be in hybrid mode. Next slide, madam. So these are our thrust areas, and this we have decided. Thrust areas have been decided with a lot of brainstorming with Region 10 ExCom and Operational Committee, and we have come out with this. And I would request section and other organizational units that they should also align their activities accordingly, so that we can work in sync. Next slide, madam. So these are some Region 10 priorities. And we are this time working on conference quality, and we are organizing a lot of programs on conference quality. Recently, we organized 2 programs, one focused for Indonesia, another for China, and Manas Chanda, who is from Kolkata section, is planning another program for India and subcontinent. We are focusing on collaborative programs. We are encouraging industry academia partnership programs, and our committees are working on that. The most important thing which I would like to discuss with you is our Reaching Locals initiative. And in Reaching Locals initiative, we are promoting local language for IEEE, and you can organize events in local languages, and you can do the seminar, you can do the talk series in local language. Also, I will give you an example. Recently, we organized one program in China for conference leadership program. The presentation made were in the bilingual, in English as well as Chinese. And there was a moderator or coordinator who took question in Chinese because they feel they are not very comfortable in English. So that the coordinator was taking a question in Chinese, converting in English, and the same way the answers were given. So if you think that some of your audience or some of your participants or some of your members are more comfortable in local language, you can organize program in local language, and IEEE is promoting that. Next slide. So our philosophy is that let our program speak. If we and we want member value creation, and we believe that if we do that value added programs, then we are going to really address the member recruitment and member retention, and those members are going to retain, and that will be a really sustainable membership growth. Next slide, madam. So with this, I would like to thank you all for this opportunity and giving me time to share my thoughts. And I wish that this program a grand success. And I really like the topic. And in fact, we should focus on the lives of our great leaders to get inspired. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Now let me quickly introduce ma'am. Atun, is the slide visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Shushmita ma'am's slide is visible?
Yes.
So now we welcome Dr. Shushmita Mitra, Chair IEEE Kolkata section. Dr. Mitra has been full professor at the Machine Intelligence Unit of the Indian Statistical Institute, Kolkata. She has been ranked among the top 2% scientists worldwide by Stanford list in the domain of artificial intelligence and image processing. She is a fellow of the IEEE, fellow of the INSA, fellow of IAPR, fellow of INAE and NASI India. She has been the recipient of prestigious JC Bose National Fellowship in 2021, and she is also a IEEE CIS Distinguished Lecturer. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Sudeshna, and a very good evening to all of you, and to those from outside India, the time of the day as appropriate. So I welcome you all on behalf of the IEEE Kolkata section, and to this very novel idea of this series on daring to dream. And in continuation to Deepak ji's comments, actually I do agree that it is because these women in those days, if you look back just 100 years, the situation was very, very different. So because these women dared to dream, so life has been comparatively very easy for us. But even today, if you look at the statistics at the school level, at the higher education level, the distribution of women there is lost somehow in the top echelons of research or industry. Somewhere something goes wrong even today, because from my own experience in as I've been a member of different committees in the Indian National Academy of Engineering, and the government of India as well as the academies are very much looking to find out outstanding women, but we fail somehow because the women seem to have lost the contest somewhere by themselves. They are not that ambitious anymore, maybe because of the domestic pressure, which is not evenly shared between the two partners. So anyway, this is a real problem actually, because in those days, of course, the women had a lot to face. But even today, we do find that at the top levels, somewhere these women get lost. So something has to be seriously done about it. So about the IEEE Kolkata section, this is a very old section of the IEEE. It was formed in way back 1971 by members of IEEE over the entire eastern and northeastern region of India. They formed the Eastern Regional Subsection of IEEE. After the formation of the India Council, the Eastern Regional Subsection was given the name of Calcutta Subsection under the Delhi section of IEEE. Through the pioneering efforts of the then chairman, the Calcutta subsection was accorded the status of a full section on September 28, 1978. Over the years, the activities of IEEE Calcutta section increased manifold and spread through many cities and state capitals under the section. Several technical society chapters and many student branches have been formed. Currently, the section has 16 chapters and 3 affinity groups, of which WE is one of the most prominent ones with their activities. There are more than 40 student branches now, and this figure is continually on the rise. The section maintains a healthy student-to-member ratio and works closely and coherently with its chapters and affinity groups, not only in technical, education, and membership development activities, but also in outreach activities, which is a major focus of this section. And now to the WE Kolkata chapter. This affinity group was formed on July 28, 2006. It was formally inaugurated on September 1, 2006. Subsequently, the executive committee was constituted in its annual general meeting on January 18, 2007. In recent years, our focus has been in building up more collaboration with industry along with academia to enable our goal to increase diversity in science and engineering careers. In 2021, along with our other activities, we have initiated this online talk series, Dare to Dream, to present the stories of women scientists and engineers who started their career 50 years back, and some of them even in the pre-independence era. So with that, I thank you all, and let us look forward to the actual program. We won't take much more time. So Sudeshna, let us go to the main program. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Let me now quickly introduce Sir Dr. Roy. After this, I would invite Dr. Roy for his talk, and For all attendees, if you have any questions, you can start typing it in the Q&A chat so that we can address it at the end. Dr. Shuprakash Chandra Roy was professor and chairman, Department of Physics at Bose Institute, Kolkata. He obtained his doctorate from Calcutta University and did postdoctoral works at Yale University and University of Pittsburgh. He held visiting positions at the University of Pittsburgh, Purdue University, and University of Calgary, Canada. He was vice president of the International Radiation Physics Society and was a member of the editorial board of two international journals, Radiation Physics and Chemistry and Applied Radiation and Isotopes. In more recent times, Professor Roy has been the editor-in-chief of the journal Science and Culture, spanning about 2 decades. He is a writer and has authored several books. Welcome, Dr. Roy, and over to you.
Thank you, Sudeshna, for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. First, I would like to thank Mr. Deepak Mathur, Director, IEEE Region 10, for enlightening me about the activities of the IEEE. Being a non-member, I was enlightened by the activities of IEEE. And I also thank Sushmita Mitra, Chairman of the IEEE Kolkata section, and he raised some important issues about women facing in their professional space even today. Okay. Can you see now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I put in the slideshow. Okay.
Yes, it's showing up.
So don't get embarrassed by looking at the title. I will talk about the life and works of Bibha Chaudhuri. So although my title is something different, Bibha Chaudhuri, a forgotten legend. I thank the organizers of the IEEE Kolkata section and Women in Engineering Kolkata section for inviting me to deliver a lecture on Bibha Chaudhuri this evening. I especially thank Sushmita Shurkole, professor of ISI, who first reached out to me for my consent, and would also like to thank Sudeshna Chaudhuri, who interacted with me and took the initiative to organize today's event. Usually in lecture, after the lecture, audience asks questions. But today I will start with my talk with a question. Sorry, this one I have to. This is obstructing the skin, isn't it? Okay. Whose work in physics other than that of Meghnad Saha and Satyendranath Bose that was carried out in India in the first half of the 20th century came close to winning a Nobel Prize in physics? Two names immediately come up, Bibha Chaudhuri and this is not working.
Maybe it will take some time, sir. It will come.
But the screen is not changing. Can I start again? No, it হচ্ছে না। ভিডিও দেখাচ্ছে না। Escape করব? No,
I think you keep this mode.
Please don't go to the full screen mode.
Okay. Yes, now it's working.
Yeah.
So two names come up. One is Bibha Chaudhuri and another one is Devendra Mohan Bose. who missed the Nobel Prize for the discovery of cosmic particles known as mesons in 1940s by a whisker. Dr. Devendra Mohan Bose was the nephew of Sir Jagadish Chandra Bose and educated in England and was director of Bose Institute for 30 years after the death of Sir J.C. Bose. He is fairly known to the scientific community, but Bibha Chaudhuri was practically unknown to the scientific community, even among the professional physicists of India, till the publication of our book. So this is the book which was published in 2018, and it's the original German edition, published with the Shaker publisher, and it cost 22 euros. After the publication of the book, there was a deluge of articles published in different journals, magazines, and websites. A recent Google search produced about 70 entries, 70, and this number does not include publications in social media platforms like Facebook and etc. You can see some of the important, this is representative examples of published within a few months after the publication of this book. We are very happy that more and more people are getting aware of Bibha Chaudhuri's life, and our effort in writing the book has been suitably rewarded. Now you see the most recent article, as recent as yesterday, published in Desh Patrika, April 2, a very brief article. I will say it's a very brief note about Bibha Chaudhuri, published in Desh Patrika yesterday. Now an expanded Indian edition of the book has been published by Tata Institute of Fundamental Research Alumni Association recently as a tribute to Bibha Chaudhuri, which contain many new information that have been procured from TIFR archives, and I will present some of them here. Professor Bandana Nalal of TIFR, who took the leading role in publishing this book, and which was launched on International Women's Day, that is on 8th of March this year. The price of the book is affordable, rupees 165, and can be ordered by filling out a Google form by visiting the website www.tifralumni.org. Now, I will little bit talk about the idea of writing this book, because you know that which is the most common questions that we faced. Incidentally, as you have noticed, the co-author of my book is Dr. Rajinder Singh, and the event is privileged by his presence. He was present in the audience. I joined Bose Institute as research scholar in 1967 when D.M. Bose was the director. Now you know that every institution carries a history of legendary achievements by the seniors, and all new entrants are enthralled by the achievements. I too grew up hearing the heroic stories of achievements of Bibha Chaudhuri and D.M. Bose related to cosmic research, their discovery of the mass of meson, and how narrowly they had missed the Nobel Prize, etc., etc. I have seen Bibha Chaudhuri when she was in Kolkata after her retirement from PRL, but my only regret is that I never met her. It was only when Rajendran started writing the biography of D.M. Bose on his 125th birth anniversary and studied more intensely about their work, and were amazed to see that Bibha Chaudhuri worked with all the leading lights of the physics fraternity like D.M. Bose, P.M.S. Blackett, Homi Bhabha, Vikram Sarabhai, and worked with people like M.G.K. Menon, Raja Ramanna, Yashpal, B.V. Srikantan, and others as colleagues. Yet, she remained unrecognized and died in obscurity. And that is when we decided to write a book. And that was a challenge for us. We have been able to procure the scientific achievements from the papers, but our personal attributes, family history, etc., had to be collected by contacting various people, like our colleagues and acquaintances who still living, such as Professor Ashim Kumar Ganguly, who is the professor in physics in Calcutta University, who was also my teacher, and B.V. Srikantan, who was the director of the TIFR, who died recently in 2019, and family members of our colleague Sukumar Bishwas, etc. What's in a name is a famous quote from Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. I have tweaked it slightly to the present title. During Bibha Chaudhury's time, remember, Bibha Chaudhury was born in 1913, and this title was literally true. And I will explain why I am saying so. Two Bengali titles, Chakraborty and Chaudhury, have a range of variations of writing it in English. My search on Google about the variations of spelling Chaudhury results in 19 variants, like this one. And there was no Aadhaar card, no PAN card during Bibha Chaudhury's time, and no fear of mismatch of names. And she took the liberty of using a surname as she wished. Even she used her name as she wished. However, we selected this one. You see that the red ones indicated in the slide are used by Bibha Chaudhury herself in her own papers. And we have selected this one, the Chaudhury, this spelling, on the basis of the only authentic document that we have been able to procure from University of Manchester, our PhD thesis. Bibha Chaudhury's personal life. As I said before, not much is known about Bibha Chaudhury's personal life. We started quite late in writing her biography. By that time, her parents and all her siblings had passed away. All of them remained unmarried, and therefore chance of getting any information from the next generation was also not possible. The information that I gathered is from one of our acquaintances who lived in the same premises for many years. Her father, Bonku Bihari Chaudhury, was a doctor by profession. Bonku Bihari married Urmila, daughter of a Brahmo missionary of Bodishal, and this deprived him of her parental properties. Incidentally, her elder sister Nirmala was married to Nillotan Sarkar. Bonku Bihari had 5 daughters and 1 son. Bibha Chaudhury was their 3rd child. Bibha Chaudhury and all her siblings were all well educated and remained unmarried. There is another question. Do you have any idea about the proportion of unmarried female scientists to male counterparts? Any guess? The answer is women scientists outnumbered in this case the male counterparts. Women scientists who never married is 14% compared to 2.5% for men. So this can be considered as a very good sociological problem to investigate. Now, before going to his works, her works and life, it is imperative to talk something about the social conditions in India in the early 20th century. So it will be helpful to understand and appreciate the struggle and challenges that Bibha Chaudhury faced in her life. The situation of women in the society, particularly in terms of education in Bengal at the time, was not very good. I will not go into the detailed discussion of this aspect, but we'll touch upon a few points to understand and appreciate the struggle and challenges that Bibha Chaudhury faced in her life. Look, till the first quarter of the 20th century, the only identity of a man was that she was the wife of a man. Early marriage was very common, even among the educated middle class. Girls were married at any age between 9 and 14, and that was the end of their education. In 1929, the Child Marriage Restraint Act was passed, stipulating 14 as the minimum age of marriage for a girl. Till 1931, a woman was qualified to vote only if she was the wife of a man who held some property and was over 25, or if she had some property of its own. Voting rights to all women that we are enjoying now and in the voting session going on, to all women was granted only in 1950 and was included in Article 326 in the Indian Constitution. Now we'll talk little about the education in Bengal. Hindu College was established in 1817. Within another 40 years, many colleges and 3 universities were established. Even in the late 19th and early 20th century, the idea was to impart education closer to life to women, which means you have to learn cooking, needlework, and housewifery. Even in 1936-37, there was no well-equipped laboratory in any Indian girls' school in Bengal. Brahmo Samaj played an important role in encouraging the women to go to schools and colleges, and this made a huge impact on women's education in Bengal. Within another 60 years after the establishment of Brahmo Samaj in 1888, we find that out of 136 students in Bethune School, I'm mentioning Bethune School because where Bibha Chaudhuri had her school education, 87 were Brahmos, 44 Hindus, and 5 Christians. Bibha Chaudhuri was a Brahmo, which probably helped her to continue with higher education. After her schooling, she graduated from Scottish Church College. Now, Bibha Chaudhuri's higher education. We all know that the foundation stone of Science College in Calcutta University at Raja Bazar was laid on March 27, 1914. And postgraduate teaching in physics was started in 1916. Bibha Chaudhuri was the only woman in the class of 1934-36, which contained about 24 students. And Bibha Chaudhuri was the 3rd woman in MS Physics of Calcutta University. In an interview, Bibha Chaudhuri was candid in saying that why women are not come to study in physics, because women are terrified of physics. There's the trouble perhaps because the really sound grasp of higher mathematics is one essential of any physicist's equipment. Mathematics to Miss Chaudhuri was like a duck to water, so she loved mathematics. Now, after receiving her MSc degree in physics, Bibha Chaudhuri approached D.M. Bose, who was then the Palit Professor of Physics at Calcutta University, to join his research group. She faced an initial reluctance from Professor Bose to include her in the research group on the ground that he did not have suitable research projects to assign to a woman. This incident is reminiscent of a more extreme form of C.V. Raman's refusal to take Kamala Shahani as a research student in his room. Everyone knows the history of that. How Bibha Chaudhuri finally managed to convince D.M. Bose is not exactly known. But one of the reasons might be the close relationship between the two families. Bibha Chaudhuri's mother and D.M. Bose's mother-in-law were sisters. Nolini Bose, the wife of D.M. Bose, was one of the daughters of Sir Nilratan Sarkar. Now, this attitude towards women is not specific to a particular country, to India only. History is replete with similar examples in many places of the world. I'll give one example, one recent example. The general bias against women's capability of undertaking arduous scientific research, which sadly persists even today, was mostly responsible for delegating a secondary status to women scientists and downplaying their individual achievements. Not much has changed over the years, as we will see from this example. Physics and gender bias were thrust into the spotlight recently as in 2018, by the incendiary comments made by the theoretical physicist Alessandro Strumier. At a workshop on gender in physics at CERN, he claimed that women were less capable than men at physics research. The day after he was suspended by CERN, Donna Strickland was announced as the 3rd woman to receive the Nobel Prize in Physics, sharing the 2018 award for her pioneering work on lasers. All this paints a picture of physics as a career that is unwelcoming to women and isolating for many of those who do make it. Is this still the case study? If so, who can do about it? The audience here will be in a better position to answer this. I leave it to the audience to judge. Now his research at Bose Institute. Now D.M. Bose moved with his research group to Bose Institute in 1938 when he became the director of Bose Institute after the death of Sir J.C. Bose. Bibha Chaudhary, along with the other research students, moved and joined Bose Institute. Although Bibha Chaudhary started her research studying nuclear disintegration by cosmic rays using photographic plates, she started detecting mesons in cosmic rays using photographic plates. Now, cosmic rays are individual particles with the highest known energy in the universe. These particles deposit energy while passing through a photographic plate and leave their signature on the plate. The plate, when developed, shows the passage of particles known as tracks. Analysis of these tracks enables one to obtain the physical properties of these particles like its mass. You see, these are the tracks, and you can notice that the tracks are of different length. The mean grain spacing between the of a particular track is different. So all these properties, all these characteristics of the track can tell about the properties of the particle that is passing through the photographic plate. The length of the such track is about 1 micron. Now, why mesotron research is important? Why she was engaged in determining the mass of mesotron? This is very important because at the time, Yukawa in 1935 theoretically predicted the existence of mesotrons, which act as mediators of the strong interaction responsible for confining protons and neutrons in the nucleus. And he predicted the mass was about 200 times the mass of electron, and he named it as mesotron. The reason is that the mass, 200 times the mass of electron is in between the mass of the electron and the mass of the proton. There are only 3 particles, elementary particles known at that time. And meso in Greek means middle or intermediate. So then they call it mesotron. And at one point of time, this particle was called by 6 different names: mesotron, meson, mesoton, baryton, iocon, and heavy electron. Bibha Chaudhary started working, so we see that the Bibha Chaudhary started working on this most contemporary research of that time, measurement of the mass of mesotron. Because Yukawa predicted theoretically a particle. In fact, Yukawa was not sure about about his prediction. He was of the opinion that must be something wrong in his calculation. It cannot be there 200 times. Any particle cannot be of 2,000 times the mass of the electron. And therefore, the measurement of the mass of mesotron to confirm the theoretical prediction or to disprove theoretical prediction was a challenging work at that time. Now, Bibha Chaudhary research at Bose Institute. Bibha Chaudhary exposed photographic emulsion plates at 3 different altitudes of Darjeeling, 7,000 feet, Sandakpur, 12,000 feet, and Farizong, 14,000 feet. Some plates were exposed directly to cosmic rays, that means placed in the air, and some plates underwater, paraffin, etc. And she published 3 consecutive papers in Nature within 2 years. It's amazing. This was published in the 1940, this is in 1941, and this is in 1942. And this paper was published in the name D.M. Bose, Bibha Chaudhary. Look at the spelling, Bibha, B-I-V-A, and Chaudhary, that is the spelling she used in her publication. This one you can see D.M. Bose and Bibha Chaudhary. Here the Chaudhary spelling is in the second paper published in 1941, C-H-O-U-D-H-U-R-I. And in the third paper, published in 1942, he again used BIVA and CHOUDHURI, Choudhury. So you see that she herself has used different name and spelling in different publications. But the important point is that she published 3 papers, one of the most prestigious journals in Nature within 2 years. So measuring the length of the track, the scattering angle, the mean gain spacing, they determine the physical properties of the detected particle, like its energy and momentum. Mass of mesotron, is reported in the first paper, published in 1941, was 160 times the mass of electron. Now you notice that I'm talking about this paper, 1941, this one, and this is the 1942. You may notice that the title of these 2 papers in 1941 and 1942 are the same. The reason is that the second paper is an improvement upon the first one, with certain corrections included, and as suggested by Bhabha. And the measured mass she obtained from this second paper is 217 times the mass of electron, which is very close to the predicted theoretical mass of meson. But they missed the chance of winning the Nobel Prize. In D.M. Bosch's own words, we detected tracks on these plates which could be attributed to cosmic ray mesons, and by a method developed by us, we proceeded to measure the mass of these particles, and we obtained a fairly accurate value for the meson mass. This was the first instance of meson mass being determined by observations with photographic plates. The team realized the need of further investigation, but left this area of research due to non-availability of photographic plates due to war period. And getting a cue from the published papers of Bibha Choudhury and D.M. Bosch, C.F. Powell used the same technique of measurement using customized full-tone photographic plates. C.F. Powell has a good connection with the Ilford company, and he produced the full-tone photographic plates according to his requirement of research. And I can just tell you, for those who are from the physicist, that half-tone plate has a emulsion coating on the one side of the plate, and full-tone means that the coatings are on the 2 sides, both the back and front. So the full-tone plates are more accurate. So about a decade later, in 1950, C.F. Powell received the Nobel Prize for his development of the photographic method of studying nuclear processes and his discoveries regarding mesons made with this method. The same method as was used by Bibha Choudhury. However, Powell was candid enough to acknowledge the contribution of D.M. Bosch and Bibha Choudhury in his book, Study of Elementary Particles by the Photographic Method. Let us see what he said. This is the statement made by Powell. In 1941, Bosch and Choudhury had pointed it out that it is possible in principle to distinguish between the tracks of protons and mesons in an emulsion. Bosch and Choudhury exposed half-tone plates at mountain altitudes and examined the scattering of the resulting tracks. They concluded that many of the charged particles arrested in their plates were lighter than protons, their mean mass being 200 times mass of the electron. The physical basis of their method was correct, and their work represents the first approach to the scattering method of determining momenta of charged particles by observations of tracks in emulsion. But yet, they did not receive the Nobel Prize, not even nominated for the Nobel Prize. Now, in 1945, when Bibha Choudhury found that getting sophisticated equipment, that means the sensitive photographic plates, will not be available at Bosch Institute due to the war, she decided to leave Bosch Institute and join the cosmic research group of PMS Blackett laboratory in University of Manchester. However, Blackett received Nobel Prize in 1949, the same year when Bibha Chaudhuri submitted her PhD thesis. The PhD thesis, the title of the PhD thesis is Extensive Air Showers Associated with the Penetrating Particles. And Bibha Chaudhuri's PhD problem was the study of extensive air showers when cosmic rays enter the Earth's atmosphere. A cosmic ray touching a nuclear particle produces a shower, which extends itself by scattering in lower altitude. That means a cosmic ray, when it interacts with the nuclear particles in a medium, it produces more particles. We call it a shower, and which extends at going to the lower altitude because it is more dense, and so the number of particles are more, and so it extends to the air shower, extensive air shower. And Bibha Chaudhuri tried to discover the how, why, and wherefore of this effect and estimate the extent of scattering and the number of particles involved in it. Now, Bibha Chaudhuri reported in Manchester Herald. An article on Bibha Chaudhuri and her work was published in the Manchester Herald on the basis of the interview taken by Burjit Maxwell. I have been able to procure this precious document from Professor Ashim Kumar Ganguly, who was a professor in Calcutta University, professor of physics in Calcutta University. And it started with the sentence. This is the clipping of the Manchester Herald. Bibha Chaudhuri is one of the most highly regarded women physicists in the world. A recognition that she never received in her own country. That is a very sad part. Now, Bibha Chaudhuri felt strongly about women's fear and ignorance of science. She said, "It's a tragedy we have so few women physicists today. In this age, when science and physics particularly is more important than ever, women should study atomic power. If they don't understand how it works, how can they help decide how it should be used?" While a news item on Bibha Chaudhuri was published, this is another most sadly enough, I would say, that while a news item on Bibha Chaudhuri was published abroad, unfortunately, there was none even ever in any Indian media. Sadly, she died in obscurity as there was not even an obituary published in any professional literature, journals, magazines, anywhere. At least we do not have found anything of the obituary. Now, the prelude to joining TIFR. After submitting her PhD thesis, she decided to do postdoctoral work at the laboratory of Le Prince Ringuet's laboratory in Paris. Ringuet's laboratory was famous for works on photographic plates. She applied for a special grant to the government of India for this visit. The application was referred to Bhabha, who in turn requested J.G. Wilson, who was one of the examiners of the PhD thesis of Bibha Chaudhuri, for his comments. Bhabha wrote, "Dear Wilson, I am writing in connection with an application by Miss Bibha Chaudhuri for a special grant for the government of India to enable her to work in Paris for a further period. I see that her application is accompanied by an open testimonial from you, and I will be very grateful to have your confidential opinion about her ability and whether any special advantage is to be gained by her working for another 6 months in Paris. As far as I remember, Professor Le Prince Ringuet's laboratory, where she wishes to work, is concentrating on the photographic emulsion technique, whereas her work with you was on the study of extensive penetrating showers with the use of counters and associated electronic technique. In the circumstances, do you think there would be any point in her proceeding to Paris?" Now, one point I should mention here that probably Bhabha forgot that Bibha Chaudhuri was expert on experiments doing photographic plates while she was in Bose Institute and worked for about 4 years there. We do not know if the recommendation was favorable for going to the laboratory in Paris from more times, then the life of Vibha Chaudhuri will be different. Maybe she also could get the Nobel Prize for determining mass of meson using photographic plates. We don't know. But what we know is that the Vibha Chaudhuri visited Paris for about 6 months, and after that, she decided to return to India at a time when Bhabha was looking for talents to join TIFR. You know that the TIFR was established in 1945, and they are observing their platinum jubilee this year. So this is the recommendation she received from PMS Blackett, and PMS Blackett is a Nobel laureate and was her teacher. So PMS Blackett wrote, "Dear Homi, Ms. Chaudhuri has now been recommended for a PhD. Janasi and Wilson were her examiners and considered she did extremely well. I have also seen her thesis, and it is very impressive. I do feel you have here a very able worker with a balanced judgment and enough experience to do really good work in the future. I do hope that she will be found a really suitable job in India. It seems to me most desirable that she should be the largest group as at your institute rather than isolated somewhere. Yours, Patrick Blackett." So you see that it's a very useful and good recommendation obtained from the PMS Blackett. So on the basis of the recommendation of Blackett and the interview taken by Dr. Taylor, Vibha Chaudhuri was offered the position of a research fellow in the experimental group of TIFR. Research fellow at that time was the lowest rung of the academic ladder, which is equivalent to lecturer, assistant professor in today's parlance. As you see in the here, that professors were A.J. Bhabha and V. Peters, and then readers and fellows. The fellows is equivalent to lecturers or assistant professor in today's parlance. And this is the offer letter to Vibha Chaudhuri. With reference to an interview with Professor Taylor, I am directed to offer you the post of a research fellow in experimental physics in this institute on rupees 410 per month. That means she received 2 increments in the scale of 350, to 30. Increment 30 rupees per year, and maximum goes to 500. So 2 increments at rupees 410 per month, plus the usual cost of living allowance. Your appointment will be for a period of 5 years and will date from the day you take up duties. You will be eligible to join the contributory provident fund of the institute, the rate of institute's contribution being 8.13%. Will you please acknowledge this letter and let me know when you intend to take up your appointment?" Vibha Chaudhuri informed the TIFR that she will join the institute on 1st of November 1949, and she did join November 1, 1949. Now on the left you see that who are her the colleagues, A.J. Bhabha, and all of the eminent people. Raja Ramanna, who was the chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission and was the principal scientific advisor to the Prime Minister. A.S. Rao, who was the founder chairman of the Electronic Corporation of India Limited, and you will know that the ECIL, the location where the ECIL is located, is now called the A.S. Rao Nagar. P.V. Tosher, R.R. Daniel, Yashpal, you all know, was the chairman of the UGC, and V.V. Srikantan was the director of TIFR. So these are the colleagues, but unfortunately, Vibha Chaudhuri, you will find later as I progress in his later life, that she remained as a research fellow till her retirement. After TIFR, she left TIFR in 1954, and she joined Physical Research Laboratory in Ahmedabad. And after TIFR, her long-term association with PRL is about 15 years. At PRL, Vibha Chaudhuri was involved in studying characteristics of muons of energy greater than 150 GeV with neon flash tube technique. Measurements were taken at a depth of 580 meter, water equivalent at a polar gold field. Now, this is the timeline of Bibha Chaudhury's scientific career, okay, as it emerged from various sources and can be summarized as follows. So, the period between after leaving KIFR and joining the PRL is a little bit hazy. Because you see that there is evidence, we have the proof that she joined Bengal Engineering College, Shibpur, Howrah in 1954. But the exact date of joining of Bengal Engineering College, and now is IIST, and leaving the Bengal Engineering College, Shibpur, was not exactly known. I'll be happy if any people in the audience has some connections with the Bengal Engineering College, Shibpur, can provide the data. When she joined Bengal Engineering College in 1954, probably joined in the January or February 1954, according to our evidence, but we do not know when she left Shibpur. And we do not really know the work she did during her 5th stay in Shibpur. Then she was in Centre National de la Recherche Scientifique, France, in around 1956. And then in 1957, for 2 years in University of Michigan, we have received information writing to University of Michigan that she was there as a visiting lecturer at the Department of Physics. Then she joined in 1959 as senior research fellow in a CSIR project at Kudaikala. And in 61, she joined Physical Research Laboratory in Ahmedabad as a CSIR pool officer and got a permanent position in 66 in PRL as a research fellow, which is equivalent to lecturer, and she retired in 76 at PRL as a research fellow. After retiring from PRL, she came back to Kolkata and was involved in physics research in collaboration with Calcutta University, Shah Institute of Nuclear Physics, Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science and Variable Energy Cyclotron Center, till her death in 1991. Investigations were aimed at understanding the nucleus-nucleus interaction at relativistic energies using solid-state detectors like CR39. This is another important aspect. The number of papers published at her ripe age after retirement was almost equal to those published before retirement, and this exemplifies the devotion and passion to science till death. She died in 1991, and her last paper published in 1990. Now I'll talk about the tributes by some of her students. You know that Dr. K. Kasturirangan, who was the former chairman of ISRO, was her student when he was in PRL Ahmedabad, and he paid a glowing tribute to Bibha Chaudhury. When I joined Physics Research Laboratory in 1963 as a graduate student, I had the good fortune to be taught by Bibha Chaudhury. She was an extremely serious teacher who prepared lectures on nuclear physics and cosmic rays meticulously and delivered lucidly. She was very caring for all of us and spared no pains to clarify all our doubts. Her homework assignments are unique, compelling students to use the basic understanding of the subject and think originally. In the way, this prepared us for more rigorous demands of research activity that sought to bring to her originality and out-of-box thinking and ability. They applied principles and ideas of different subject themes, among others. Teaching and mentoring by tutors like Bibha Chaudhury considerably influenced my later life positively. I remember her with gratitude and respect. And now I will present another tribute by one of our PhD students, Yogesh Saxena, who is now retired from the Plasma Research Laboratory in Ahmedabad. And let me see what he said. My first meeting with Bibha Chaudhury was during the coursework which I was taking as a research scholar at Ahmedabad in year 1964. She gave us a course on interaction of high energy particle and matter, and I was highly impressed by the way she taught. I was more inclined to do experimental work, and I learned that Dr. Bibha Chaudhury was planning a new experiment on detection of high energy muons in extensive air showers of cosmic rays, and I decided to join her as a student. To the surprise of many of my colleagues and seniors, I noted whether it is a gender issue. There is a feeling that she was a tough person to work with, which turned out to be totally misplaced, as I discovered during my work with her for next several years. She was a very good teacher and took care that I kept up with required studies while doing the experiment. In addition to the cosmic rays and high energy physics, she taught me French language, which was part of the PhD curriculum at Gujarat University at the time. Though her scientific work was of high quality, she submitted most of her papers from this work to Indian Academy Journal for publication. So this is the tribute given by the Y.C. Saxena. Incidentally, I will point out one thing, that Yogesh Saxena did, although was Bibha Chaudhury's teacher, but he finally submitted his thesis under Bikram Sarabhai on the insistence of Bibha Chaudhury, how modest she was. And Saxena submitted her thesis. Bibha Chaudhury was a recognized guide at Bombay University, but she insisted for Yogesh Saxena to submit his thesis under Bikram Sarabhai, and he did that. So technically, Yogesh Saxena obtained her PhD under Bikram Sarabhai. Now, some questions that remain unanswered. In spite of Bibha Chaudhury's talent and capabilities that we have learned on ours, she did not get a suitable position commensurate with her talents. Not only that, I will say that sadly that she started his research career as a research fellow at TIFR and retired as a research fellow from PRL. And she remained that research fellow lecturer throughout her life. This is unimaginable. She was not elected a fellow of any of the Indian academies. We do not know whether she has been nominated as a fellow in one of the academies or not. Almost all of our colleagues, as I mentioned before, and students got well placed in life. You can see that Yashpal, M.G.K. Menon, V.V. Srikantan, Raja Ramanna, everyone. And she published 11 papers before joining TIFR. Only one paper in TIFR, and 3 papers during her tenure at PRL, and 12 papers during her stay in Kolkata after retirement. So these raises questions. Was she marginalized and discriminated against in the male-dominated area of physics research? Was the environment in big institutes like TIFR and PRL non-conducive for her growth or for women's growth? We don't know. One has to look at these questions. 2 books on women scientists were published, one in 2008 by the Indian Academy of Sciences, Bangalore, Lilavati's Daughters, the Women Scientists of India, Rohini Gorgule and others, which contains about 60 life history of 60 women scientists. And after 10 years, in 2018, another book, The Women Scientists in India, authored by Anjana Chattopadhyay, was published by the National Book Trust in 2018, which contains 175 women scientists. Now, in none of the books, Bibha Chaudhury featured in any of these books. So you see that Bibha Chaudhury has never considered as one of the leading scientists in India. Or in other words, her work was not recognized at all. But finally, after 30 years of her death, she received recognition when a star was named Bibha after her name. The title "From an Unsung Heroine to a Star in Heaven" is the title we use in one of our articles published in Science and Culture. I'm not going to the very recent one, everybody knows that thing. On December 17, 2019, the star HD 86081, located 340 light years away, was named Bibha. The name was accepted in an International Astronomical Union, IAU, meeting in Paris. So that is one of the greatest recognitions she received. after her death. Now, the more recognitions and honors are on the way. At the end of the day, things turned out to be much brighter, with more and more recognitions and awards coming to Bibha Chaudhuri. And we feel proud of this great scientist who finally received the recognition that she deserved. Government of India instituted the chair professors in physics in the name of Bibha Chaudhuri this year for a woman as a women's empowerment program. TIFR organized a special lecture on Bibha Chaudhuri on 11 February 2020 on the occasion of International Day of Women and Girls in Science, and I had the privilege of being an speaker in this conference 11 February. And immediately after the conference, the Bandhana Nanal decided with his TIFR Alumni Association colleagues that a book, a Indian edition of the original German publication will be published to reach out this book to the students, particularly the students and the general public, to encourage them to do science and to face challenges in their life. And they did in a very lightning speed, I will say. Bandhana Nanal arranged everything, negotiating with the German publisher, then with the printer, publisher, and although the book was published quite late due to the pandemic, but it's been finally published on 8th March this year. Now, TIFR Alumni Association published the Indian edition of our book that I just told, and Physics Research Laboratory started Bibha Chaudhuri Memorial Lecture from this year. First lecture was held on 31st March 2021, and this will be an annual event. I do hope that Bose Institute, where Bibha Chaudhuri was an alumnus of, and BE College will come forward to recognize the talents of Bibha Chaudhuri as an alumnus of these two institutes. Finally, so Bibha Chaudhuri's life is a fascinating example of courage and determination of a lady born more than 100 years ago, choosing research career in a subject like physics, making significant contribution on contemporary research subjects while working at reputed institutes in India and abroad for our younger generation to emulate. Thank you for patient hearing.
Sir, it was amazing.
Thank you for your patient hearing.
Yeah, it was amazing. I'm almost speechless. So I let us open it from questions and we'll talk after that. But it was an amazing session, sir. And so much we still need to know, so much we don't know. It really just proves our level of ignorance and the people we have in the glorious past. And I'm so happy we started this series. So let us open for question answers.
So
Anybody?
can I ask a question?
Yeah, Sushmita
Yes.
Di. So
Yeah,
before you ask the question, Sushmita Di, just for the audience, I would like to tell them if anybody has a question, you can click the raise hand in the below panel, and Atanu can unmute you after the current question is done. Over to you.
Yes. So, Professor Rai, it was a
Yes.
very enlightening talk. I liked it very much. So, actually, I think from my personal opinion, I feel that the society has changed a lot over the years, and the change has been very fast. And the issue that you mentioned about Bibha Chaudhuri in TIFR, that she remained a research fellow, it's very unfortunate. But that she is being given the due honor now shows that the society is changing. In fact, that book you mentioned about Leelavati's daughter, you see, I think her name doesn't occur because it is not known to many people.
That's right.
Very much in obscurity.
That's right.
Because on the other hand, I feature in that book. So, I mean, I am ashamed in that sense because I do believe she is a much greater and accomplished scientist. So, I believe people didn't know because today the society is not that bad. And the second thing is that I like to have some more details about the statistics that you mentioned, because about the female and male scientists who are unmarried, that is 14%. 2.5%, because I think it strengthens my opinion that family life is in a way detrimental to women's career flourishing to the outstanding level. And incidentally, I have been incorporated into the Inter Academy panel of women in STEM under Government of India. So we have a meeting. So I would like to focus on these statistics that you mentioned, which is very interesting. So please give me a little more detail. I mean, where it was done, who did it, something like that, if you could.
You mean who did that research?
Was it published somewhere? I mean, if you can send it to me by email, that would be fine also. I mean, just now you will not.
I don't remember exactly where I got it, but I will try to find it out. And I don't remember whether there is an exact number was given there. It was probably in an article it mentioned that the unmarried women scientists are about 14% compared to the male scientists. But anyway, I'll try.
Yeah, because you see, this also, enforces the opinion that if you are married, then the responsibility of family as well as the responsibility of the work environment. So the working woman has to do twice the things.
That's true.
So that's why she cannot progress much.
One thing I will add in connection with the books, that Anjana Chattopadhyay has assured me, but because I pointed out Anjana Chattopadhyay, I was a book reviewer of her book. So, and I mentioned in that review that Vibha Chaudhuri was not featured, but he assured me in private communication that in the next edition, she will definitely include Vibha Chaudhuri.
Yes, she should.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Anybody else has any question? If you raise the hand, we can unmute you.
So audience is spellbound. No question. No comments. That's good for the speaker.
Your presentation was very detailed, sir, and so much well thought and well collected information. It was amazing. And I'm so happy we are recording it. So even if those who could not attend, this will be there in our YouTube channel for IEEE Kolkata section page. And it's that must have been quite a bit of a work in collecting the information, I would say.
If Rajinder is there, probably I can invite Rajinder so that you can see another author of the book. Rajinder, are you here?
Yeah, he has raised his hand. Atanu, can you please? Yes, please unmute.
Sir, you are unmuted now. Rajinder, sir.
So, first of all, thank you very much for the speaker also and for the invitation. I want to say one point that we have the same book also translated into German. So that is also available if somebody knows only German.
Yes, Rajinder, thank you for sharing this information. I forgot. Because I do not know German.
Yeah.
Dr. Roy, it was a great program. In fact, unique program I ever attended. So you very nicely narrated, and you brought many facts. One thing I could not understand why Professor Vibha Chaudhuri used different names by herself, because if somebody else is using, then it is fine. But if I use my name wrongly or differently, so I don't understand logic on that. But anyway, that is what is the fact.
Yeah, in the past probably they don't care about their name that man. But the only problem in the professional line is that if you change your name, then your citations will get lost.
Yes.
That is the one problem of the modern age. But at Bibha Chaudhury's time, probably that was not that serious. Even you know that my name, what I written as Suprakash Kash, and it was written by it was taught by our parents to write like that, and ROY Roy. Now the university has changed that thing. Age was given. I don't know why. When I got the certificate, there is no age, and ROY became RAY. I don't know why. But
No, Calcutta University has some set rules, you know. Every surname has a particular model.
But I am still maintaining that my parents' name, Suprakash, H and ROY. And then my Aadhaar card, PAN card, everything has the same name, bank account. So there's no problem so far.
No, actually, even IIT Kharagpur had that, spelling the names according to certain norms. So I used to spell my name with an H, and I lost the H to IIT Kharagpur. And as a result, right after that, when I was going to MIT as a graduate student, and I applied for my passport, I had to produce my certificate from IIT Kharagpur, which and that name was my official name since then. So I had to change the spelling of my first name.
Sushmita, I reminded me that because when I made my passport, the same thing happened to me. In my passport, there is no age.
Okay. So I mean, I am simply overwhelmed by knowing all these facts, and it is so sad. I mean, I think we have progressed far more, but at the same time, I would say that it is also very, what should I say, a lesson as scientists we should learn, especially in this age of so much media, so much publicity, that a genuine scientist like her continued, and her focus was, she did not care about any recognition, she did not care about any position. Her entire life was dedicated to science and nothing more. That degree, that sort of commitment to science is very rare. So, I mean, in that sense also, she is, it's a lesson to learn for all the younger generations and, even for us.
Sure.
Hello. I would like to say something. Actually, Deepak Mathur sir told this why she framed her name in different pattern. My thought is that she was careless about everything except her research. She was so passionate. And regarding the talk of the situation of both Sushmita Mitra and Kole, what I feel that is Bibha Chaudhury was a legend physicist and inspired so many women, but till today fighting the both of the wars, both on the home front and the professional field, still women in our age need support from the main partner, because the outlook is still there is a glass ceiling pattern we feel everywhere. We do not get the highest position at age as men obtain. We need a change for that.
You see, that is the society's view. You see, take a simple example. At home, now we are all in online activities. So if the man is in a meeting in a room as his office, and the woman is also in a meeting in her office in the house, the maid or the driver will approach the woman thinking that the meeting is not of that great importance because the sir is in a meeting. So that is the reality.
Navonita ji, and there is another person raised their hand.
Yes, my Rajendra. Hello?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Maybe it is a little bit silly when a Punjabi he tells why the Bengali they have so many different last names. Once I read one article that this tradition, it is from the revolutionary time. That means because the Bengali activists who are involved in the politics, sometimes deliberately they told different family names. Whenever the police was there, they said whether Chaudhary is there with this name. They said no, this Chaudhary is not living there. So that seems that it is something to do with the Bengali culture plus the revolutionary movement in Bengal. That is what I read somewhere.
But Sushmita, I clearly see change. And as you see that I have shown a slide, and if I talk about IEEE, I see that so many women leaders at the top, and I see those who have joined late. I told that current IEEE president, current IEEE secretary, current IEEE treasurer, and current IEEE MGA, all are our lady volunteers. So the situation, everything is changing, and I'm quite confident that we would be seeing a better world in near future. And we have improved a lot.
Yes,
And yes, Sushmita ji, as you have seen that our India Council, our secretary treasurer both are lady volunteers, and many section chairs are today headed by our lady volunteers. So we hope for a better future in very near time.
Okay. Perhaps they understood the women are not far behind of the men, and they have recognized the necessity of bringing them in front.
No, but the men are trying to bring the women in front, but it is very difficult. I mean, to find women at the academy level. I mean, to be, let's say, nominated as a fellow. You don't find too many, although there is an effort to find. And you see, this is changing. Definitely, it's changing. But this was this was a feature even in the entire world, not only in India. Because as I have read somewhere, Albert Einstein's research work was also very much influenced by that of his first wife. Was never given the recognition. So, and then the Crick and Watson model of DNA, I think another lady was involved in that, who was never given the recognition. So these are all coming up these days.
Yes, Rosalind Franklin.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even there was another physicist, Dr. Rai, she was from Austria. What was her name? Who worked and did not get Emmy. No, I forget the name. Anyway, so
only Madame Curie. Madame Curie got the recognition. Her husband was very good.
No, I can
supportive.
If you allow me to share one screen or two screens, can I?
Yes.
In connection with this.
Yes, sir. You are already allowed.
Okay. Allowed then. This is the lady the Marietta Blau, who was a pioneer in the development of the photographic plate. Actually, in fact, she was the person who developed the photographic method of studying nuclear processes. And she has a very parallel life with Vibha Chaudhary. She was an Austrian, moved from Austria as she was a Jew, and fled to USA by the help of Albert Einstein. But neither Blau nor Vibha Chaudhary did not get the Nobel Prize. As a consolation, Blau was nominated for the Nobel by Erwin Schrödinger and Walter Thierry, but Vibha Chaudhary not. So you see that there are people like that. Here, this one, as because you are talking about the females are now getting empowered by the society. So this is the situation. You see that the male and female faculty in some physics departments. It's not another subject. So the IIT, KGP, all TIFR, IIT Delhi, Delhi University, RRI, IIT Kanpur.
Yes.
So you see that the number of females in faculty compared to the male counterparts. Society is changing, no doubt, but it needs more changes.
I was talking about Lise Meitner.
Huh?
Lise Meitner of Austria. She was also a physicist, and she did research of Nobel quality, but never got the recognition.
Okay, so I think again.
There is a question in the chat box. Are you saying something, or I will read out a question in the chat box. So it's from Amitav Nath. Meghnad Shah or SN Bose, what was their stance about Bibha Chaudhary's research and contributions?
It is very hard to tell because Bibha Chaudhary has never been nominated. Meghnad Shah and Shatrughan Bose were nominated. So we know the results, how the Nobel Committee felt about their work and whether they will give the Nobel Prize or not. That's so it is known, but it is not known whether Bibha Chaudhary, because she was never nominated. If she was nominated, we can get the Nobel Committee report and then say that with the chance. But anyway, in my personal opinion, they should get the Nobel Prize.
I think we are coming almost to the close of the session.
Okay.
I would really, Atunbo, if you can give me access, I would just quickly like to share something and.
Yes. You can share now.
Yes. Is it visible, Atunbo?
Yes.
Let me put it on a slideshow. Yes, so I would like to thank you, sir, because I mean, we can go on repeating, but it was amazing. And all of us will again hear the recording for sure. And we just have a little token of appreciation for you and Mr. Mathur. We have planted a grove of 25 trees in the Sundarban National Park project by Grow Trees. And that is a token of appreciation from all of us to you for your invaluable time and inputs in this session. Sir, Mr. Deepak Mathur, thanks a lot for making time for this particular session. For you also, we have purchased a grove of 25 trees in the Sundarban National Park project in Grow Tree scheme.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, Kolkata Section WI. This was really amazing session by Dr.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me. It was my pleasure to lecture over here in this new platform and with so many participants. It's really amazing.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All participants, thanks to both Shushmita ma'ams, thanks to everybody in V and Kolkata section, and we will
Thank you.
close the call now. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. It's great.
Okay. Good night.
Good
Good
Great
night.
lecture.